Minded Podcast, powered by the CDA.
Let's do this.
All right.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Eugeni, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Day one of Salone Milan Design Week. What are we up to? What are you up to now?
Well, day one, it's starting once again, this magic event, which every year is different. There's always a new energy, and we hope to share all that energy with everybody that comes and bring new things to the world.
What about you, sir?
Definitely a lot of walking around, getting a lot of inspiration, hitting those steps, and exhibiting and just enjoying the energy, enjoying the creativity. You know?
So for those who never come here before, they can't realize there's so much going on. You can get overwhelmed so quickly. I mean, of course, you have new collections and exhibitions that's coming up. That's your priority. But how do you prioritize things that you want to see and do?
Well, first of all, we take attention for sure of the things that we're showing, and we can always escape a little bit and see other installations, other presentations, which is always inspiring also to see and feel a little bit what is the temperature of the creativity, and see that it's always in good shape and good energy. And while we do all what we can to absorb the maximum of good energy and to give also, because I think mostly of the mission of what we're doing here is to share what we've been doing in the darkness during all the year, suffering and saying, okay, now it's the moment, and now it's the most wonderful thing about designing is when there's the real public that comes and touches the piece, and you see that works or it doesn't, but when it works, that's the best price you can have.
It's an interesting strategy, to be honest with you. I like that. It's a good approach. I mean, to me, I take the slightly more intuitive approach to this, exploring what the city has to offer. I love the idea of just falling onto or stumbling onto something that you didn't know existed. You know, because you're always on a certain trajectory in the city, right? You want to go see a certain exhibition, a certain talk, a certain space, for example. But then along the way, you know, you discover something else, and you just go down that rabbit hole. And I find that to be the really drawing factor of.
There's something you can organize to discover, but the city's got so many energy, so different places to discover that at the end you let yourself just flow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you catch what you need to catch. And,
absolutely.
And that's the way you meet people that you didn't know before.
100%.
And like here we are in a magic moment.
Here we are. The interesting thing for me is that this is actually the first time since COVID that we're back to regular schedule. I mean, they had it last July. If we talk about a little bit, it's a little bit off. It wasn't quite where it is, but this time there's an incredible energy in town. I mean, day one is just like booming. Everybody's everywhere.
Exactly. I think it's the real spring, because Milan is always in spring. Last year it was not spring, and to me, I've been coming here since 21 years now, and it's always different. It's always evolving. But I have to say that I have my little lucky thing. Is that today's my birthday.
Right.
No way!
So Milano, it's a little bit the place where I can display all my presents.
We have something to celebrate.
Share with everybody, and it's a celebration. It's a spring celebration.
Look at this guy. We've been chatting for a whole hour behind cameras, and now he dropped that on us.
That's an interesting little surprise.
And
well,
that's what I like
man.
about it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So
that's amazing.
Share everything we do, and this day it's magic.
You also launching a brand new collection with Sutherland Furniture. It's the first collection with them, so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I know Sutherland since a while already, since 2006, and we always kept this contact with this energy, visiting in Monaco, in Paris, in the States. And we started this new collection 1 year ago, and we started to build something new, a new relation, a new exploring way of designing collections for them. And it took like a very nice energy, so we started to discuss and say, hey, wait, why don't we go a little bit further and we do something else than just a collection, no? So they opened me the doors to go in Texas and to be in Dallas. So now I'm installed there, and we're starting a whole new relation, creating much more than just a collection. So I'm taking care of the brand, and they're taking care of me, and it's a nice adventure, mixing materials and also fabrics, rugs, and precious materials, making the best we can.
That's awesome. And you have an exciting exhibition as well.
Absolutely. We've been lucky enough to have been approached by Artemest, who we've been collaborating with for quite some time. And they'd invited us to represent the Middle East as some of, one of the designers that would exhibit in L'Appartamento. So it's curating a space, and it's again sort of talking about that sequential experience or a journey through a sequence of spaces. And it was an interesting sort of dynamic, because we're sort of designing in the abstract for a space that we're going to visit, and then trying to think about how to preserve the cultural and historical relevance of the space while introducing contemporary pieces. I feel like we've done a really interesting, exhibition, and I would hope for you guys to come and visit it as well. Sure. But yeah, it's always, I haven't been coming here for 21 years, but I avoided Milan last year, specifically for the reasons that you had discussed about sort of feeling that the true surge of energy when you do arrive in Milan for a design week.
Exactly.
You pointed out something I'm interested in, because we're supposed to see the best of the best, the most creative, innovative designs in Milan today. But coming from the Middle East, do you feel there's a good representation of artists in design here in Milan? I
feel what Milan Design Week does, perhaps better than others, is that it does have a very global approach to design. I feel like it's democratized the design scene. I feel people from Spain and Brazil and the common ground that you guys have in Texas as well, and then bringing in the sort of Middle Eastern demographic to it. I feel like Milan is an interesting opportunity for everybody just to come in and exchange ideas, to listen, to be listened to, and along the way, it's inevitable that once you process the week afterwards, you really realize how much you've actually picked up from it, as opposed to being in it the whole time.
It used to be a more like a European size focused salone, and the last years you see how it connected the whole world.
Correct.
And you see people from everywhere, which is very interesting also in a creative point, because designers belonging to a culture or a country, they will design something that talks to his people, to his culture. And today, you can't just talk to your people, because there's other spectators that are looking at you.
Correct.
And you must talk all the languages from the world. And so creativity is getting modified also.
And you think about...
Yeah, you need to think about it, because you're going to Milano, you're not just talking to Italians or European people. You're
the context
talking
gets wider.
To Brazil, to America, to Asia, to everywhere.
And culture has expanded so broadly as well, because, let's, for example, I'll give it me. I'm from Brazil, but most of my adult life is spent in the US. So it's a mix of a combination of tastes, experience, background. Correct. So you can't really classify someone in one specific category anymore.
No, of course,
and it's also about, when you're designing something and you're creating something, you're sort of putting a piece of yourself that's out there for the public and, the general demographic to receive it. And it's about when you're designing something specific for a certain context, how does that then respond to a different context, to a different audience? And I think that sort of fissure is very interesting.
Yeah, it's good to understand there's all these other people from the world together, because your new language is going to speak all those accents.
Correct.
And you have to understand what their culture is also, to add that element in your design, in your product, in your creativity.
Correct.
But just what we were talking about a few minutes ago, we speak I don't know how many languages here, and we are from all over the world, and we exact the result of what is happening right now.
100%.
So I think we are on the good wave.
I hope so. Absolutely.
I feel it.
Same.
On the creative aspect, you just mentioned about when you develop a new collection. Let's talk about the Monaco collection right now. When you're looking at those things, when you're working with a company that has already been very successful in the US, but growing all over the world, are you trying to define an identity, or you more kind of look like to a product that you can connect in a personal and a creative level without so much worry in the commercial aspect of it?
Well, I put everything together at the same time. Automatically, I think about the commercial, about identity, about myself, about what they are, and how that matches together. And it's like a love relation. You have a feeling, and it makes a chemical effect, which makes that happen. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen, you can't push for something that it's not happening with a spontaneous energy, positive energy. But at the end of the day, you shape that energy into a real product, and you try to bring your best to something that's already there, but you can still open a new direction and bring a new material, a new way of using their capacities and their know-how, and make something new and fresh, which is what we're looking for. Never lose what we've done already, but always build on that, something more fresh and wanting to have that and share that and
I
interact.
feel you can always, like, I mean, just on the point of taking things and, you know, always producing something new, I'm sure you're also learning from, you know, the things that you've done in the past as a platform to launch the newer collection, I guess.
Exactly,
you know, so.
yeah, there's always a base where you build on it, but it's interesting to open new doors permanently always. And say, okay, let's open this door and let's go all together and bring people to experience something new, something that belongs to our time also.
I think one thing that's wonderful about what we do, at least in the industry, is the level of collaboration, because you have to have so many people involved, that aspect of bouncing back each other ideas.
Yeah.
Now, you when work in an exhibition like this, when they're giving an assignment, what's the dynamic right here? You know, how do you deal with some of the feedback that you're receiving that maybe is not what you want to hear? You know, that push and pull kind of relationship.
Absolutely. So I think it's a very good question, actually, because it's something that we had firsthand experienced just yesterday. Approaching this particular project, we had to, of course, you know, be sensitive about the context that we're working in, and of course, as architects and interior architects, we want to, I don't want to say impose, but we want to demonstrate rather what we're capable of doing when we're sort of briefed or presented with a space. Of course, it's a heritage building, it's a heritage site, so we had to listen very closely to the craftsmen, the people assembling the exhibition together, to pay mind to the load of the floor plates, for example. So we couldn't necessarily, there were limitations with regards to what elements we could modify and what elements we could implement into the space. But ultimately, with these restrictions and these parameters, I believe it's made the space more successful. And the result is something that's really well curated, in my opinion.
I think the parameters are the elements that allowed you to really create something in a direction, which is important to listen and understand exactly what are the limitations, what are the options, what are the elements that you're playing with. So it's like playing music. You need to know the notes so you can compose and create something new. So it's not, you're never completely free, because you're not doing your thing, you're doing the thing together, and you are directing that creation, but at the end, you're bringing everything together, everybody's feedback, and trying to understand how to respond to that in your way as you feel it, and give something that's real, that's really a real feeling. But yeah, so it's important to share all that together.
I feel sometimes the more I talk to creative, leaders like you, both of you, I notice that there's a pattern that the limitations is not so much seen as an obstacle; it's more seen as an opportunity.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. I mean, it's always,
Exactly.
you can always find a way.
It's true. It's true. Again, going back to that, but the same thing with creativity.
That's that line that really excites us in terms of creativity, because if it was possible and easy to do, then there's no challenge anymore. There's nothing really we can bring there. But I like it when it's really, when you get to the impossible line, then you go to the other side and see what's behind impossible.
Completely.
And bring something new from another reality. Because in fact, creativity is exploring something invisible, which we don't know. You start with a white page, and you say, what's going to come out in that white page? Where is it? Where was it before it came? Exactly. So you need to pull those things that don't exist to make it real.
And it's sort of chiseling away and sort of, hacking at something to create the final sculpture. Because if you don't have these limitations and these restrictions, your mind, of course, can take you places. But I'm a true believer, and I presume we're on board together with this, is that, you have to have a function for something in order for it to be, architecturally speaking, successful. And not always, for art, it's a different scenario, but these parameters that are set are actually a catalyst for creativity, in my opinion, and I think it's just a shift in the mindset to allow you to do that.
Now, is creativity something that you're born with, or can be exercised? Can you practice creativity and become good at it?
Well, in my case, I don't know. I feel, for me, it's natural. What I do, everything is natural. I can't force anything about what I do, and I don't like to force anything. So it has to become fluid and natural. You just need to wait sometimes the right moment, and when it comes, it starts to come all over. But yeah, the exercise is to be there all the time. So
just doing the work.
You need to be awake doing the work, because sometimes creativity is just in front of you. And if you are just stressed on another thing, you don't see it happen. And it's just catch that butterfly that just appeared. And that energy is interesting to keep all the process.
Personally, I agree. I would go beyond that and say I think everyone is creative to an extent, and it's a matter of where you focus that creativity. Yeah. And I think inspiration can be passive, but in order to be actively creative, you need to be proactive about it. So you need to put in the effort. Once you get that inspiration, but also put in the effort to get that inspiration. So you can read more, travel more, see more, make more, in order to then evolve into something that is, a creative endeavor. But inherently, I think even. Not to bash bankers or anything, but even bankers can be creative. It's just a different way.
I'm sure they have ways to be creative with your money. Many ways.
Especially now with these interest rates, but So it's an interesting question.
I like the positive creativity. So the one that brings happiness and beauty and makes our world better in that sense, which I think we should all focus our energy to make that happen. In fact, the reason. For me, the future is something very important, the vision of the future, because the future can be whatever you project. If you are positive and you're dreaming about a positive future, a beautiful future with nice solutions, then you make it happen. But if you just try to catch information around you and you match them together to create and imagine a future about that, then it will be negative.
Exactly.
But we project and create what we believe in. So I think it's important to believe in the right direction, so we create something new and better, and we have the opportunity to make a magic future. Even if today we could say the world's a bit dark at this moment, there's not a lot of room to be positive and think about the future. For me, the year 2000 was the beginning of the future. Now we're 2023.
That's
crazy to think about that.
We're still trying to start it. And it looks like if the future was one direction, we took another direction.
Absolutely.
And we have to go back to that line.
But I was having this conversation with one of my colleagues just this morning, actually, when we're on the way to here. We were discussing how we are now in the future, with the electric cars running around and then sort of listening to people. It feels like we're in the jets. It's AI. That's a whole other thing. It's like, and if you sort of take a step back and not even go back to 2000, just go back to 2021, 2020, 2020. It's already like things have progressed, but it's a matter of sort of extracting ourselves from the current reality and just seeing how far we've come along. It's pretty impressive. But I'm with you, and I'm totally on board about molding our own future and just having that positive mindset towards it, for sure.
Now, you're talking about positivity and molding your own future, and we have a lot of younger, inspiring designers and creative people that are going to be listening to us. How do we start in this endeavor, in this journey in 2023? What good recommendations or tips that you can share with some of those upcoming designers and people who aspire to be here with us one day?
Well, honestly, I don't really know. I think everybody should show up and be free to follow their dream, their creativity, and not be afraid. Not be afraid, because everything is possible. And more you believe in what you do and in a positive way, I don't stop saying that, because it's really the key that opens you to meet people, to see opportunities, and to go further and start making every day happen. So it starts every day. Every day is a new day to meet new people, to create new collections, to build a new story, and here we are doing it. Come and enjoy us. Let's be more.
Enjoy. I love that. I love that approach. It's a very important question. I hope I'm qualified enough to be able to answer that, because it's a tricky one, right? Because on one hand, yes, absolutely, follow your passions. I personally do not know. I feel like I'm still figuring it out, you know,
course.
as if it's day one for me, you know.
So every day is day one.
Yeah,
but that's the exciting thing also.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's where
just,
you challenge yourself and you're still curious.
And that's the point. Challenge yourself. Whatever it is, I think do not expect it to be a very easy road. And whatever endeavor you do,
exactly.
I think it's good to face resistance and challenge. It's good to face these roadblocks and obstacles because I think that's what makes one better, you know. And you know, I think we have a stigma as designers or architects. Is that, you know, it's a creative path, therefore it must be easy and sort of very nice. But in fact, exactly, just hold hands and, you know, sing around the fire. But it's, you know, and we know it's very difficult. And just be, you know, ready to face that if that's what you want to do in anything.
Well, I know both of you are very busy, has a lot going on. But before I let you go, I want to tell a little bit about your collection. Tell us, you know, a little recap, inspiration, and what do you want people to hear about it, and you about your exhibition as well.
Well, the Monaco collection starts with this relation with Sutherland and perennials, and it's Monaco because I wanted to catch that moment, that point also that meets the earth with the sea, that little thin line close to the sea, and bring that atmosphere of those elegant times where we can be in those terraces and be like a Hollywood star close to the sea and
can't wait to see
and dream in that atmosphere, and at the same time open a new path and make that dream happen with the technology and the materials of today, and keep always building in our story. And voila, I hope everybody's going to enjoy and live it.
Sounds exciting.
As you dream it.
Sounds very, very exciting.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. So we're exhibiting with Artemest, and you know, it's an intervention in a historical space, which I feel is a very new context for us to work in, considering that we typically work in very modern parts of the Middle East. And what we really wanted to do there is to sort of create this sense of exploration and journey. So it's, you know, of course, we had to make sure that we work within the set parameters. So circulation had to be considered, historical context had to be considered. The pieces themselves would add a sort of eclecticism, reflection, materiality and texture. And we really want to transport people into their own minds about how they can address their own spaces and to try to inspire them from the collection that is presented by Artemest.
It's nice because here in Milan you have so historical, beautiful buildings.
Correct.
That when you bring your vision, your newest modern vision, and you have to match with something that was there already before.
Correct.
And you say, we were talking about the Duomo, and you say this building was here before we discovered America.
Yeah.
And it was already here. So you see how they look at them, each other, to the mirror.
Absolutely.
In a way. So that reflects a very beautiful image.
100%. 100%.
Well, I have a plan.
Yeah.
You come to Austin, and we're gonna take you to Jiu-Jitsu.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Perfect.
That's happening. We're gonna do this.
It's on camera.
You agreed.
I agree.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Day
you.
one of Milan Design Week. I'm sure Christine is going to be happy for the next couple of days. But I couldn't appreciate more you taking the time to be here with me today.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you
very much.
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate
Cheers.
it.
Minded Podcast, powered by the CDA. This episode was created in partnership with Gagano Sutherland Furniture, Marta Sala, and Ili Cafe. A special thank you to CC Tapis.